Owens Community College Radio, keeping the community connected. It's Randomosity, Toledo's only vinyl radio show. Randomosity Revisited, second week in a row, featuring shows previously unheard on Owens Community College Radio. These were shows. Last week's was a summer exclusive program that was a part of a series of shows we did that was not even remotely aired. None of it has ever aired until last week on OCCR. This week, interesting little thing here. This was a show that was produced for air on Owens Community College Radio, and it was finished and was turned in, and last minute a decision was made to put in its place an alternate. So if you were there back on September 28th of 2023, we had two different shows airing at the same time. One was getting played on Owens Community College Radio, and another was getting streamed at the exact same time on the YouTube page. Two separate shows at the same exact time. Both were brand new. I'm not even sure if that had ever been done in Toledo radio, and it was a pain in the you-know-what to get done. But the reason why the decision was made was for content reasons, because we were profiling George Carlin that week, and the original plan was, across the board, we were going to do Class Clown. Okay, Class Clown is the album by Carlin that features the classic 7 Words You Can Never Say on Television. And we edited it down. It was cleaned up for air, whole 9. Everything was cleared, but a decision was made last minute, and it was made by me to remove the show and put in its place another album called Takeoffs and Put-Ons from his nightclub act, counterculture Carlin, as it became. Well, some time has passed, and in looking back, we decided that, you know what, the time has come to finally air this show the way it was meant to be heard. And so we're going to do that right now. Originally scheduled for air September 28th, 2023, featured online only for the first time ever right here on Owens Community College Radio. George Carlin, leading into this album, throughout a good portion of the 60s, he was, I don't want to say a nightclub comic, but he was like a Vegas strip comic. But as time went on, and, you know, things started to change, not only in the world, but in culture and society, George, behind the scenes, was changing along with it. And when the time came for him to leave behind that whole original act he used to do and go in a different direction and appeal to the college kids and appeal to the changing culture and the change in society and all the different, I mean, it's legal in some areas now, but some have called it the pot culture, some have called it the hippie culture, but ultimately at the end of the day it was counterculture, because it was counter to what was going on and accepted in the world at the time. This was also at a time too when not only was Carlin embracing the counterculture, but Carlin also decided to take a chance and do something that was not accepted too much by a lot of the standard bearers in comedy at the time. And he took a cue from Lenny Bruce from the early 60s, and he started addressing politics, and he started addressing the war, and he started addressing a lot of our people who are in charge of the country, and basically the way the world was through his eyes. And boy, did he gain a lot of momentum behind him. He became overnight, literally, the most popular comic in the country, selling millions of records. And the time came to do Class Clown. What was indicative about this album was it contained a bit called the 7 Words You Can Never Say on Television, which became a focus, by the way, of government harassment towards him in the year that followed. And it became basically his calling card throughout the entire decade of the 1970s. And we're going to discuss the controversy behind it and when the time comes to play the bit, the 7 Words You Can Never Say on Television. But we're going to get it kicked off with a sample of Side A here, because this is kind of a lengthy record. So we're not going to play everything off the album, but we're going to play, without a shadow of a doubt, the most popular bits off of the album. Ladies and gentlemen, closing out our fall concert series and opening up to this week's program, this is George Carlin live from May 27th, 1972 at the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium in Santa Monica, California, on Randomosity, Toledo's only vinyl radio show. Ladies and gentlemen, the Doctor is in.
People always want to know how you get started on this job. I guess they ask musicians too, and actors and everything, but they always want to know how you get started. They say, how did you get started? I say to you, did you always want to be a comedian? Well, not in the womb, but right after that, yes. Sure. I did. But class clown is when you really do get a chance to kind of work out, you know. Because the classroom is the best place. The classroom's best because, well, no one's allowed to laugh there. And suppressed laughter, you know, is the easiest to get, the most fun. You know, like when you're kneeling in front of a casket. During the sermon, whatever it is. And in the classroom, class clown always sounds like there was only one of them, you know? It sounds like the class clown, but that's not true, really. There was, you know, quite often there were 2 or 3 or 4 of them. Sometimes you'd have a whole classroom full of them, yeah. If the main guy was absent, second banana would fill in, right? Yeah. And the class clown wasn't really so unique. You know, he didn't necessarily do things that were real different. It was that he learned things first. He discovered things first and passed them on to the other guys, right? Class clown was the first to discover a lot of musical things. He was the first one to get into Hawaiian nose humming, right? Well, if you're going to play, you know. And then playing head. You had to be a little mazzo for that anyway, man, you know? That and throat. Found out later in life the beard acts as a mute for soft passages. Right. Well, anyway. Class clown was the first guy to discover this, usually in gym class, right? Yeah, the old artificial fart under the arm. Or as we called it in New York, the artificial fart under the arm! There were a lot of ways to make the fart sound when you were a kid. Remember you had this one too. And then the crook of your arm. It was an important sound, you know. I guess we found so many ways to make it, you know. I didn't need any of those fancy ones because I could. I was into the bilabial fricative, you know. I was so glad when I found out that had a real official name to it, man. Bronx Cheer and Raspberry never made it for me. Bilabial fricative. Do one from the back? It would probably be an SBD today, man. Remember that? Silent but deadly. Wow. It's true. Most of the time in class, I was tempted to fool around, man. Get someone's, that's what it was, yeah. You'd be bored and you'd figure, well, why not deprive someone else of their education? And you would set about disrupting the class by attracting attention to yourself. That is the name of this job, you know. It's called Dig Me. Yeah, it was like, hey guys, didn't make the team, but... Yeah. I said, hey, he's crazy, man. Hey, you want to go to a party? Wow. Yeah, you went to all the parties. Got the last girl, but you went to all the parties. When I would try to attract attention in class, I wasn't really like a very daring and bold youth. I was a little timid, really. I didn't get right into fake epileptic seizures in the aisle, you know. And just start out and test the water a little bit. I used to start with little sounds like That's a good one because no one can really see where it's coming from, you know. You can even look around like you don't know, right? That's, of course, the pigeon. You recognize the pigeon. That was my only bird call. Because that was our only bird, you know. I was from a real New York part of New York, you know. We had pigeons and sparrows. Had sparrows. Sparrows, though, you could never pin a sparrow, you know. They would leave too fast. You try to go over to a sparrow. Pigeons would walk out of your way and give you a bad look, right? Poor pigeons, man. Their song is stuck in their throat, you know? That's what living in the city does, man. Sticks your song in your throat. I'm sure when the pigeons first got to the city, they had a nice song, man. A few years in the city. And then that little oil slick we laid on them, you've seen that oil slick on their neck. I'm sure we gave them that. Pidgeys. I had one sound that was my own. Not completely my own. I stole it from a Spike Jones record. None of the other guys could do that one. I added a little something to it. No one really cared, you know. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. And then, of course, there was popping the cheek, which everyone had to do. Just to be a kid, you had to be able to do that, right? Yeah, it was part of the credentials. Can you pop his cheek? Okay, he's a kid. Let him in. Go on. Let me hear all of you do that. I love when a whole auditorium does it. Everybody do it like that. Just pop. Now do it without giving in to the temptation to laugh. Everybody do it without laughing. But we take that for granted, you know. We think it's so simple. You say to yourself, well, I think I'll put my finger in my cheek and pop it. It's not that easy, man. There's a lot of things to think about. You got to know how much finger to put in there, for one, right? You can't do it like that, really. You have to judge the amount of finger. You have to know how much air pressure against the cheek, how much cheek pressure against the air, and when to release. Yeah, you see old guys in the park now can't get it on anymore. That's the first thing that goes on a class clown is the cheeks, man. They never did issue microphones to the class clowns. That would have been a big help. But you had ones like this. And you remember this one? Old men always used to do this to you. Remember your grandfather would always do that. Hey, come here. My specialty was knuckle cracking. I was into it on kind of an esoteric level, really. For instance, I could crack all 28 knuckles, you know. 28 plus, actually. Only 28 are officially recognized by the Knuckle Institute. But you aficionados know that down at the ends of the fingers, you have a lot of multiples and repeaters. And if If you wake up and think about it first thing in the morning, you can do 50 or more of them, man. A little more knuckle lore for you. The smaller the knuckle, the higher the pitch. Something we just don't stop to think about, you know? For instance, this last knuckle on the pinky is the highest pitched knuckle. You'll hear it now. That was a double. Let's see if I can go for the double on the other pinky. I don't often get two doubles in performance. I'd like to try. And that was down a little lower than it should have been. That's a higher pitched and much more gentle knuckle usually. Let's give the right one on the end of the pinky a chance. Let's see if the other one's in there too. Two doubles is far out, yeah. The best reason for cracking your knuckles was to make the girls sick. I mean, that's all you wanted to do when you were 9 or 10 was make the girls sick. If you could get Margaret Mary to throw up on her desk in the morning, you knew it would be a good day. You picked the most squeamish girl, right? Margaret Mary was susceptible to the knuckles. Hey, Margaret Mary! Remember that feeling like wiping off snot? Somebody else's. Wipe it on flaming wood if you had to. Get it off me! It got on me by accident! Because nobody really likes your bodily fluids, you know? That's true, unless you keep them to yourself. People don't want them. Really, think of it. Any fluids or semi-fluids that you secrete or excrete or whatever, people don't want to hear it, you know? Earwax, blood, sweat, get it out of here, man. Sometimes they'll take your blood if they're in trouble, you know. Otherwise, keep things inside. People want you to keep things inside. Anything you could do disgusting was good for class clown. Ernest Cruz could turn his upper eyelids inside out. Wow. Remember those guys? Wow. Even I would go, don't do that, Ernest. You look like the devil, man. John Pigman could belch at will. Not just the ordinary belch. I mean, we all learned to swallow a little air, you know, and do the fraternity burp. But John Pigman was an artist, man. He would save air for like half an hour, man. You'd see him over in the corner. Hey, John. No, man. Oh, and when he would finally let go. Oh, wow. Oh, ladies. Oh, ladies would puke for blocks around. He would talk when he burped. Remember those guys? How do you do, son of a bitch? He'd try to go through the whole alphabet on one burp, right? A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W. Sometimes John would be in the movie theater, and you didn't know he was there. And then you found out, man. If anybody on the screen opened their mouth without saying anything, John would provide the dialogue. Hey, John's here, man. class clown used to save his best stuff for lunchtime when you were drinking your milk. And he'd try to make the milk come out your nose.
Hey, Carlin, you bastard, I'll get you, man.
It was even better with 7-Up or root beer, you know? Get all those bubbles up in their sinuses, man. One time, Michael Davey passed an entire cheese sandwich through his nose. Sister Annunziata thought it was a miracle, you know? Come with me, mister. And don't talk to the other boys and girls. Yeah, you're not allowed to talk to anyone right after a miracle, you know? You have to wait and be debriefed by a priest, right? Dun, dun, dun. Remember that? Do you still do that? Dun, dun, dun. Don't lose that, man. Dun, dun. Remember when you were a kid on a hot day, nobody was around, nothing to do? Dun, dun, dun. I'll still do it, man. I'll push the button in the elevator. Dun, dun. Watch the numerals going up. Na, 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 na. Yeah, otherwise it's all wasted time, you know? Elevators, nothing to do in the elevator except not look at the other guy. Okay? Stare at your shoes. I play spy at the airport. Do you ever do that? I believe in using that kind of time. It's wasted time. Play spy at the airport. Especially a big airport. You know there's a spy at the airport, man. Your job? Find him. Yeah. Get into a little of this. Let's share this with you. I'll share a swallow of water with you. Why not, man? No one ever shares a swallow with you. It's a kind of a personal sound. That second half is the best part of the swallow, you know? There are two parts. A lot of people don't realize two parts to the swallow. The first one, that kind of bubbly sound, is when you pour something in your mouth, your throat closes up. Because your throat doesn't trust your mouth, man. Your throat knows your mouth is crazy and will do anything. So your throat is kind of a monitor, and you pour something in your mouth, your throat says, hold on, let's check that stuff out. And the brain goes, looks okay to me, let her go. Listen again for the two parts, and especially that second one, which is kind of like going home.
Originally scheduled for air September 28th, 2023, but never made it that far. Online only. This week making its world premiere on Owens Community College Radio. A year and a half after its original scheduled air date. Kind of fun. Huh? Yeah, I thought so too. So we'll be right back with more of Classic Carlin right here on the program. Also, we got some information coming your way regarding the very last brand new show from Randomosity on OCCR. So don't you go anywhere. All right. This is Toledo's only vinyl radio show, the award-winning and nationally recognized Randomosity on Owens Community College Radio. Back on the program here on Randomosity, Toledo's only vinyl radio show, profiling Class Clown by George Carlin, originally scheduled for air September 28th, 2023, but previously unheard. And, it's interesting looking back to see how much has changed in the time periods, not only since the show was originally scheduled for air and never made it that far, but also how far comedy has come. People like Dave Crumbly downtown, part of the Crumbly Comedy Troupe, will tell you that comedy has come so far since those days in the early 70s. You know, the counterculture movement helped bring about a shift in the way that things were done on stage and around the world regarding the art of comedy and the art of entertaining people. And that is no more prevalent than right now, taking you back to that show, September 28th, 2023, never before heard on Owens Community College Radio. So check this out right here. Randomosity, Toledo's only vinyl radio show for the Randomosity Revisited series.
I used to be Irish Catholic. Now I'm an American. You know, you grow. Yeah. I was from one of those Irish neighborhoods in New York, one of those kind of parish schools. It wasn't typical. It was Corpus Christi was the name of it. It could have been any Catholic church, right? Our Lady of Great Agony. St. Rita Moreno. Our Lady of Perpetual Motion. What's the difference? What's it called? You know. The church part and the neighborhood part were typical, but the school was not. It wasn't one of those old-fashioned parish kind of prison schools with a lot of corporal punishment and systemary discipline with the steel ruler, right? My hand! And you'd fall 2 years behind in penmanship, right?
Well, he's behind in penmanship, Mrs. Carlin. I don't know why.
Well, he's crippled. He's trying to learn to write with his left hand, you know? We didn't have that. Somehow I got lucky, you know. Got into a school where the pastor was kind of into John Dewey and progressive education, and he talked the diocese into experimenting in our parish with progressive education and whipping the religion on us anyway, and see what would happen with the two of them there. And worked out kind of nice. There was a lot of classroom freedom. There was no, for instance, there were no grades or marks, you know, no report cards to sweat out or any of that. There were no uniforms. There was no sexual segregation, boys and girls together. And the desks weren't all nailed down in a row, you know. They were movable desks, and you had new friends every month. It was nice. Like I say, a lot of classroom freedom. In fact, there was so much freedom that by 8th grade, many of us had lost the faith. Because they made questioners out of us. And they really didn't have any answers, you know. They'd fall back on, well, it's a mystery.
Oh, thank you, Father. Mystery? I don't know. What's he talking about? A mystery.
Part of Class Clown was being an imitator, as you probably noticed. But I used to imitate the priests, which was right on the verge of blasphemy, you know. I could do them all rather well. I did Father Byrne the best. Father Byrne was the one who used to celebrate the children's mass. I always thought that was great, to celebrate mass. Yeah, man. Father Byrne did the children's mass, did the sermon every week. He used to do parables about Dusty and Buddy. Dusty was a Catholic, and Buddy was not. And Buddy was always trying to talk Dusty into having a hot dog on Friday. And I could do Father Byrne so well that I often wanted to do him in confession, you know? I wanted to get into Father Byrne's confessional one Saturday, maybe a half hour before he showed up, and get in there and hear a few confessions, you know? Because I knew, according to my faith and religion, that if anyone came in there and really thought I was Father Byrne, and really wanted to be forgiven, and performed the penance I had assigned, they would have been forgiven, man. Because that's what they taught us. It's what's in your mind that counts. Your intentions. That's how we'll judge you, what you want to do. Mortal sin had to be a grievous offense, sufficient reflection, and full consent of the will. You had to wanna. In fact, wanna was a sin all by itself. Thou shalt not wanna. If you woke up in the morning and you said, I'm going down to 42nd Street and commit a mortal sin, save your car fare. You did it, man. Absolutely. It was a sin for you to want to feel up Ellen. It was a sin for you to plan to feel up Ellen. It was a sin for you to figure out a place to feel up Ellen. It was a sin to take Ellen to the place to feel her up. It was a sin to try to feel her up, and it was a sin to feel her up. There was 6 sins in one field, man. But confession had there was another aspect to confession for me. Our neighborhood was right between Columbia University and Harlem, Juilliard School of Music, Grant's Tomb, 2 seminaries, Jewish Theological and Union Theological Seminary. I said Harlem was there. And then to the north, a Puerto Rican and Cuban section. And as Puerto Ricans began to move into our neighborhood, the diocese, in this rare display of tokenism in the early 50s, sent one Spanish priest, Father Rivera, to hear Spanish confessions. And all the Irish guys that were heavily into puberty would go to confession to Father Rivera. Because he didn't seem to understand the sins, you know? Or at least he didn't take them personally, you know? It wasn't an affront to him. He was no big theological harangue. He didn't chew you out. He was known as a light penance. In and out, 3 Hail Marys, you're back on the street with Father Rivera, man. Boom, right? Hey. You could see the line move. That's how fast he was working, right? But he wasn't ready for the way Irish boys were confessing at that time in that place.
Huh? Bless me, Father, for I've sinned. I would touch myself in an impure manner. I was impure, impurity and impureness. Thought, word, and deed, body, touch, impure, sex, dirty, impure, legs, impureness, touch, impure, dirty, body, sex, rub, and covet. Heavy on the covet, Father.
That's okay, man. 3 Ave Marias. You'd be home in 5 minutes, you know? The Irish priest, on the other hand, nice guy, but first of all, he recognized your voice because you'd grown up there, right? He knew everyone. What'd you do that for, George? Oh, God, he knows, man. And the Irish priests were always heavily into penance and punishment, you know? They'd give you a couple of novenas to do, 9 First Fridays, 5 First Saturdays, Stations of the Cross, a trip to Lourdes. Wow. That was one of the things that bothered me a little about my religion, was that conflict between pain and pleasure, you know? Because they were always pushing for pain, and you were always pulling for pleasure, man, you know? Yeah. There were other things that bothered me. Perhaps it's retrospect, you know. I'm seeing them better now. But I think I was troubled, too, at the time by the fact that my church would keep changing rules. I mean, they change a rule anytime they wanted. This law is eternal, except for this weekend. Special dispensation. Magic words. Yeah, like eating meat on Friday was definitely a sin. Except for the people in Philadelphia. They were number 1 in the scrap iron drive. Yeah. They would give it away as a prize, you know. If your parish gave the most money to the Bishop's Relief Fund, hamburgers on Friday. Yeah. Wow. And, of course, I've been gone a long time now. It's not even a sin anymore to eat meat on Friday. But I'll bet you there are still some guys in hell doing time on a meat wrap, right? Gotta be there, yeah.
I thought it was retroactive. I had a bologna sandwich. This guy had a beef jerky, right? Tell him what you had.
How'd you like to do eternity for a beef jerky? Muhammad Ali, Muhammad Ali, Muhammad Ali. It's a nice musical name, Muhammad Ali. He's back at work again. He's being allowed to work once again, Muhammad Ali. He wasn't for a while, as you know. For about 3.5 years, they didn't let him work. Of course, he had an unusual job, beating people up. It's a strange calling, you know. But it's one you're entitled to. Government didn't see it that way. Government wanted him to change jobs. Government wanted him to kill people. He said, no, that's where I draw the line. I'll beat him up, but I don't want to kill him. And the government... The government said, well, if you won't kill him, we won't let you beat him up. It was a spiteful move, you know, all because he didn't want to go to Vietnam. And now, of course, we're leaving Vietnam. We're leaving through Laos, Cambodia, and Thailand. It's the overland route. It's the long way out. You got to go through China and Russia to get out that way. What are we going to tell them, man? We'll only be here 6 weeks just looking for the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Well, maybe they'll go for it, you know. Of course, you have to remember why we're over there in the first place. Oh, yeah! It always comes to me. To free those people. So they can have industry. U.S. industry. Those are the middle two letters of the word industry. U.S. And that is our job around the world. Run in, free some people, and whip a little industry on them. Here's your industry. Cool it a while, will you? So they can enjoy the benefits of industry that we have come to enjoy. Oh, beautiful for smoggy skies, insecticided grain, for strip-mined mountains' majesty above the asphalt plain. America, America, man sheds his waste on thee and hides the pines with billboard signs from sea to oily sea. Then you have to remember the sexual side of Vietnam, which a lot of people don't notice. The Hearst newspapers notice it, of course. Yes, they're into sex on anything. I mean, you check the wishing well or the sewing patterns, and there's a little something in there. But they're always afraid of pulling out. That's their big problem, you know? Pull out doesn't sound manly to me, Bill. I'd say leave it in there and let's get the job done. Because that is, after all, what we're doing to that country, right? Yeah. And we have always been good at that, you must admit. We took care of the blacks, took care of the Indians. I consider the South just another minority that was screwed by the U.S. government. I have no prejudice against them. They got it too. We really gave the Indians a fast trip across the continent. You notice that? They were having a little cookout in Massachusetts. Bunch of boats came up, man. Hey, you mind moving over, guys? Bring in the stuff. Would you move over? Would you mind bringing the stuff, man? Would you move over, man? Bring in the stuff. Come on, man. Move it over. Would you mind over 4 mountain ranges? Got them onto an offshore island, Alcatraz, right? Off the continent completely. They had to take the island to get it. Then we kicked them off there. I guess we're going to send them back where they came from. Yeah, we bought the Bering Strait theory, right? Put them welfare people to work filling in the Bering Strait and charge them Indians $1 a head to go home. It's a good, sound business solution.
On October 30th, 1973, FM radio station WBAI in New York City aired a broadcast that included a segment which featured the George Carlin routine Filthy Words, as featured on the Occupation Full album, part of a program about societal attitudes towards language. A few weeks later, a man by the name of John Douglas, who at the time was an active member of Morality and Media, stated in a complaint with the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, that he heard the broadcast while he was driving with his teenage son. Also stated the material was inappropriate for the time of day, which aired in the middle of the afternoon around 2:30. In response, the Pacifica Foundation, who was the owner, received a letter of reprimand from the FCC censoring them for allegedly violating, quote, broadcast regulations, which prohibited airing indecent material. Fast forward to 1978, the U.S. Supreme Court, all right, Federal Communications Commission versus Pacifica Pacifica Foundation, July 3rd, 1978, by a vote of 5-4, ruled that the routine was indecent but not obscene. The court recognized the government had strong interests in, quote, shielding children from potentially offensive material and ensuring that unwanted speech does not intrude on the privacy of one's home. This was a real thing, folks. The Pacifica Court upheld the FCC's power to regulate broadcast media, citing two pervading governmental interests. First, the uniquely pervasive nature of these broadcasts allows them to seep into the privacy of the home without the consent of the viewer. Second, broadcasts are uniquely accessible to children whose vocabulary could be enlarged in an instant by hearing indecent or profane language. What else is new, right? The court held that these two concerns were sufficient to justify special treatment of indecent broadcasting, thereby allowing the FCC to fine broadcasters for airing inappropriate content, stating from the court that the FCC had the authority to prohibit such broadcasts during hours when children were likely to be among the audience. It gave the FCC broad leeway to determine what constituted indecency in different contexts. And for those of you who are curious about what hours those are, the rules get, quote, lifted to a certain degree, relaxed, I think is the more appropriate term, between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. So between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m., it's off limits. But this is the 7 words you can never say on television. May 27th, 1972, from the Class Clown album from Santa Monica, California.
I love words. I thank you for hearing my words. I want to tell you something about words that I think is important. I love, as I say, they're my work, they're my play, they're my passion. Words are all we have, really. We have thoughts, but thoughts are fluid, you know. And then we assign a word to a thought, and we're stuck with that word for that thought. So be careful with words. I like to think, the same words, that hurt can heal. It's a matter of how you pick them. There are some people that aren't into all the words. There are some people that would have you not use certain words. Yeah, there are 400,000 words in the English language, and there are 7 of them you can't say on television. What a ratio that is. 399,993 to 7. They must really be bad. They'd have to be outrageous to be separated from a group that large. All of you over here, you 7. Bad word. That's what they told us they were, remember? That's a bad word. No bad words, bad thoughts, bad intentions, and words. You know the 7, don't you, that you can't say on television? Shit, piss, fuck, a motherfucker, and tits, huh? Those are the heavy 7. Those are the ones that'll infect your soul, curve your spine, and keep the country from winning the war. A motherfucker and tits, wow. And tits doesn't even belong on the list, you know? Yeah. It's such a friendly sounding word. Sounds like a nickname, right? Hey, tits, come here, man. Hey, tits. Hey, tits, me toots, toots, tits, tits, toots, man. Sounds like a snack, doesn't it, huh? Yeah. Yes, I know, it is, right, a snack. But I don't mean your sexist snack. I mean new Nabisco tits. The new cheese tits. And corn tits and pizza tits and sesame tits, onion tits, tater tits. Yeah. Bet you can't eat just one. That's true, I usually switch off. But I mean, that word does not belong on the list. Actually, none of the words belong on the list. But you can understand why some of them are there. I mean, I'm not completely insensitive to people's feelings. I can dig why some of those words got on the list. Like cocksucker and motherfucker, those are heavyweight words, Oh, there's a lot going on there, man. Besides the literal translation and the emotional feeling, I mean, they're just busy words. There's a lot of syllables to contend with. And those K's, those are aggressive sounds. They jump out at you, man. It's like an assault on you, So I can dig that. Now, we mentioned shit earlier, of course, and two of the other four-letter Anglo-Saxon words are piss and which go together, of course, but forget that. Little accidental humor I throw there. Piss and cunt. The reason that piss and cunt are on the list is that a long time ago, certain ladies said, those are the two I'm not going to say. I don't mind fucking shit, but P and C are out. P and C are out. Which led to such stupid sentences as, okay, you fuckers, I'm going to tinkle now. And of course, the word I don't really, well, here's some more accidental humor. I don't really want to get into that now. Because I think it takes too long. But I do mean that. I mean, I think the word is a very important word. It's the beginning of life, and yet it's a word we use to hurt one another quite often. And people much wiser than I have said, I'd rather have my son watch a film with two people making love than two people trying to kill one another. And I, of course, can agree. It's a great sentiment. I wish I knew who said it first, and I agree with that. But I'd like to take it a step further. I'd like to substitute the word for the word kill in all those movie cliches we grew up with, right? Okay, Sheriff, we're gonna you now. But we're gonna you slow. So maybe next year I'll have a whole rap on that word. I hope so. There are two-way words. Those are the 7 you can never say on television. Under any circumstances, you just cannot say them. Ever, 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 not even clinically. You cannot weave them in on the panel with Doc and Ed and Johnny. I mean, it's just impossible. Forget those 7. They're out. But there are some two-way words, those double-meaning words. Remember the ones you giggled at in 6th grade? And the cock crowed 3 times. Hey, the cock crowed 3 times. Hey, it's in the Bible. There are some two-way words, like it's okay for Kurt Gowdy to say, Roberto Clemente has 2 balls on him. But he can't say, I think he hurt his balls on that play, Tony, don't you? He's holding them. He must have hurt them, by God. And the other two-way word that goes with that one is prick. It's okay if it happens to your finger. Yes, you can prick your finger, but don't finger your prick. No.
Randomosity, Toledo's only vinyl radio show, is a production of Randomosity Podcast, LLC, copyright 2024-2025. No portion of this program may be rebroadcast, retransmitted, or reproduced without the express written consent of Randomosity Podcast, LLC, and this station. Owens Community College Radio is where you are checking us out at right now. Find us anytime, anywhere, online, on demand at your fingertips. OCCR in the search bar, Google Play, and the Apple Store. You can download our app. And also, OwensOutcom.com. That's Owens, OUTCOMM.com. It's like M&M's, right? I like the peanuts. Good times. Okay. Chuck. My kid's making a cameo in the show this week. All right, yes, she likes the chocolate. Okay, so we will be back next week. But next week, we're taking you to a show. Not only is it a part of a show that was labeled obscure, this is a show that, I'm going to be straightforward with you, I don't even remember doing. So we're going to put it on, and we're going to see what it was all about. All right, so be there next week on the program on Randomosity, Toledo's only vinyl radio show. Owens Community College Radio is the station. My name is Dr. J. Thomas, and ladies and gentlemen, the doctor has left the office.